The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
What time is it?
Ladies and gentlemen, the Undisputed Era has arrived.
You have the 25 days of Christmas. Impact's going to have the 25 days of releases.
I send it you to deletion! Yeah!
It's hashtag Alpha versus Omega.
Let's just say hashtag aroused.
No, you're going to step in that ring, and you're going to be looking at me eye to eye, and you're going to realize you ain't got a chance.
Thank God we don't have to talk about it anymore, because she got that cancer out of there.
Sean stole my answer. I'm just glad we don't have to talk about this anymore.
And that's not an insult. That is just a fact of life.
Undisputed Era, can I get your reaction to the comments Authors of Pain made that this will be your fate?
Well, frankly, Christy, it's laughable. I mean, they can't compare us to a couple of crumb bums like they just destroyed. This is the Undisputed Era.
Right.
This is 24 carats, 24/7.
Who do they think they're dealing
and
with?
What's their little slogan? Their little motto? War is our peace?
Yeah.
So something dumb like that.
AOP, I hope you find peace in the fact that as long as we are here in NXT, you will never hold these again.
Ladies and gentlemen, wrestling to the max.
And your hosts, Gary Vaughan, Sean Garmer, and Paul Leazar.
What is up, everyone? It is time for another great episode of Wrestling to the Max. This is part 2 of episode 283, and of course we are brought to you by W2Mnet.com. That's right. Go search out everything over there, and hey, when you're doing it, you can find all the great podcasts when it comes to wrestling, video games, entertainment, and sports, everything under the sun pretty much. And hey, also, if you're just listening to us through Apple Podcast, Spreaker.com, wherever you're finding our show, make sure you go hit that subscribe button. That'll get you every single thing we do, and you'll never miss a minute of the action. Also, go do us a favor, rate and review. That just gives us a little headway on what you like and what you don't like, and also gives us some star power. So we appreciate you guys to do that. Also, hey, make sure you go give big love to 411mania.com and lastwordonprowrestling.com. Both great supporters of ours, and we want to make sure that we do the same back for them. And also, don't forget, the W2M Network, like I told you about Wrestling on the Max, is a place to go subscribe, rate, and review. But I just want to mention one thing really quickly before we go too far. I kind of mention it. I don't go really in depth. But trust me when I say there's so much great content on the W2M Network. Oh, my God. I can't even start to tell you. It would take the entire podcast. But I want to make sure you go give all those other great podcasts on there a lot of time. Give them some, some opportunities as well. Maybe you haven't listened to some of the shows we talk about, or maybe even throw out there. Please go do it. Sean was just on Shooting the Shiznit this last Monday night doing Raw 25, and we all did it together. We did our own special episode for Raw 25, but go check out that. Sean did a great job. He kind of gave us, a little bit of love our way too. So make sure you go check out that show and all the other great stuff that we have over there. Lots of great stuff and reviews as well. So just a little prop there. But yes, I, of course, am Gary Vaughan, the host, and along with me is your other co-host, Mr. Sean Garmer.
What's up, everybody?
And Mr. Paul Leazar.
Heyo.
And guys, I'm glad we're all here tonight. We've got a packed show, so we're not going to delay too much. I just wanted to let everybody know what's on the show tonight. We are talking NXT TakeOver Philadelphia. We are going to do a full breakdown of that, along with the Royal Rumble, with all our predictions and everything we think is going to happen on those shows. And we are also going to be talking a little New Japan. That's right. They'll be doing their New Beginnings a couple of shows this weekend, so you don't want to miss that. We're going to be breaking down those shows. We'll also be giving some quick hits. Trust me, lots of interesting stuff in quick hits. You don't want to miss that either. It's really going to be fun to talk about. And we'll also be breaking down this week's Impact taping. So we got all that, and Superstar of the Week. We actually got 2 of them because we missed last week. So we got 2 great ones to cover. I can't wait to get into all this, guys. So let's do it. Let's start off with the first thing on the dock, and let's jump into NXT TakeOver Philadelphia. And I don't know if we have music for that or not, so
We do. Go for it, Gary.
All right, guys. Well, let's start off by talking this NXT show, and one of the big matches that'll be a part of it is, of course, the Velveteen Dream. He'll be taking on Cassius Ohno, and this one's going to be really interesting. I'm really kind of curious what you guys think about it. If you ask me, I still feel like the Velveteen Dream needs a big win coming off the loss to Gargano this past week, but I don't know. How are you guys going? What do you think, Paul?
You know, this is a match sort of geared for Dream to win and have another spectacular performance in. We talk pretty often, Gary, about sort of Cassius Ohno's position within NXT right now, and that's sort of the gatekeeper to the main event, which is just fine. I think solid veteran and a guy I think you can count on time and time again to make somebody look good when it calls for it. And this is certainly a time to call for it, but Dream is definitely going over.
Sean?
Yeah, I think this is what Cassius Ohno is there for, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when's the last time he really won anything of like total note on one of these big takeovers? He's there to help put over the guys. Velveteen Dream's been doing fantastic stuff, and hey, it's just the next stepping stone in his way.
Yeah, for sure. I'm kind of really excited about watching that match. It's going to be a lot of fun. Another one that's going to be a blast to watch is this Extreme Rules match between Adam Cole and Aleister Black. And Sean, that one could get a little crazy.
Yeah, that one is going to be freaking fantastic. Let's hope that these two... I don't know why I'm hoping. This is NXT. They usually go out there and give them a lot of time to shine on these things. Every time Aleister Black gets on TakeOver, he delivers. You put him in there with Adam Cole, this is going to be really good. I think I'm kind of stumped on a winner, though, because both guys sort of deserve the nod. I feel like because Undisputed Era is probably going to win later, they might just give this one to Aleister Black.
Boy, I'm having the same trouble, and it's mostly because I just have this giant, burning, undying love for Adam Cole, baby. So I couldn't do it. I was writing up. I did the 411 Mania previews for both shows this weekend for WWE, and I went back and forth on this so many times, and eventually I just landed on Aleister Black because I don't know how long Adam Cole's going to stick around in NXT. I really don't, just because I don't know if he needs to be here. You know, he's great already. He's got everything you want, and it's just sort of seeming like figuring out what exactly you want to do with him on the main roster, whether it's Undisputed Era or something else. But I think a lot of this is also informed on whether Ciampa is showing up this evening or not, too. So I think you win Aleister Black here. I think he's got an NXT title shot in his future, and it doesn't really matter who he faces at that point. So,
yeah, I think Aleister Black is a great choice. I'm a huge fan of Black. I mean, I think this guy is, I think he hangs in the moon, to be honest with you. But here's the thing. I really question the involvement of the Undisputed Era. Heck, I even still question when we're going to get those new members. So this could be the case. An Extreme Rules match is the best time to do it because technically Adam Cole wouldn't cheat if he had a new guy show up and beat the crap out of Aleister Black, and who knows what's going to happen with that. I can never remember his name right now, but I know there's a certain guy that's doing pretty well over there in the Performance Center that's from Ring of Honor as well, so he may be taking place and being involved. But I'm going to go Adam Cole just out of the thought process of we're going to have somebody interfere in that big match, so... Looking forward to that one, though. And it could get bloody, too. That's another thing that I look forward to seeing if they actually allow him to bleed a little bit. So, let's talk about the NXT Women's title match. And this one's going to be fun, too, because we have Ember Moon defending her title against Shayna Baszler. And, I mean, boy, Baszler's been built to be someone special. We know Ember Moon has got the momentum on her side. It's going to be a crash course of interesting, Paul.
Interesting to say the least. These two do have, I believe, a couple of matches against each other from across the indies back in the day before Ember showed up in NXT and all that. So there is some air of familiarity here. I think Shayna takes this too far. I think she doesn't let go of a hold or something like that and is more out to prove a point than win the championship here. So I think Ember's going to win by DQ here just because I also question injecting Baszler into the championship scene this fast. And I'm a big fan of her. She's great and all that, but it makes you wonder, did they really need to pull the trigger on Shayna this quickly? I feel like this is more here to set up a story down the road than it is to have a great match.
Paul might be right here. I mean, even though it would be cool for her to hold the title or whatever, I think it's too quick for Ember to lose it already. They obviously have big plans for her, and assuming, other things happen with another comrade of hers, they might keep her down there for a while just to not have the confusion with the two. So I think she has maybe the WrestleMania takeovers is her moment then. So I don't think you can have Ember win. Something along the lines of what Paul said, I think makes the most sense. I just can't really think of another way other than maybe Shayna wins by count out or something like that. I just don't see a way where Ember loses right now. I just don't think it's time for Shayna yet.
Yeah, I think you both are onto something. I think they're going to go into this trying to make both look great, and they're going to protect each of them. So something's going to happen that's not going to mean a clean finish. Let's just say it that way. Mm-hmm. I just think that's the way it's going to work out. But, yes, I will give Ember Moon the victory no matter how it shakes out, just because I think it looks terrible having her as a still short-term NXT Women's Champion come in there and then all of a sudden lose it. I think it makes her look even worse, so I'll go that way. Let's talk about the NXT tag titles. That's right. They are on the line, and the Undisputed Era are there to defend them. Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish. They're going to be taking on the Authors of Pain with Paul Ellering on the side. And this one, I think, is going to be really fun. I think it's going to be a lot of interesting because the Authors of Pain are so dominant, but you got the brain power of the two guys on the other side of the ring. I'm going to say the Undisputed Era, though, do succeed here and retain their titles. So, yeah, what do you think here, Sean?
Sorry about that. People
no problem.
Sending me dumb stuff on my phone. This is actually going to be, it's a cool, contrast of styles, right? You got two smaller guys against the two powerhouse guys, and you have, probably have the whole just try to chop them down with Fish and O'Reilly, and then you'll have Authors of Pain get pissed off and just probably throw them around for a bit and stuff. I would think that at some point you're just going to see Chasing the Dragon on somebody, and Undisputed Era retains.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I really went with the Undisputed Era here is just because I don't know what another tag title run does for the Authors of Pain in NXT, I feel like they're pretty established as whatever you want them to be going forward. I just don't know if they need the belts like I think Undisputed Era still needs them, just because we're still sort of establishing them. They haven't even been around 6 months yet, so let them keep going with those, and they'll find a way by hook or crook to take these. I don't think it really matters which way you go, just so long as they walk out with the belts. I think you're okay.
Yeah, and I don't think that the Authors of Pain are very long for the NXT realm for much longer. So to me, it just does not make any sense to put the belts back on them for them just to drop them in a short term. So yeah, I think that Undisputed Era for sure. Well, we've got another big match on this card to talk about, and it's one that I think a lot of people are very interested in seeing when it's happened here. And that, of course, is going to be the big NXT title match with Andrade Cien Almas with that championship taking on, guess who? Johnny Wrestling himself, Johnny Gargano. This is going to be really fun. I think it's going to be an intense match. You're going to, of course, going to have Zelina Vega outside the ring screaming her head off. I mean, Paul, this could go a various amount of ways, but how do you feel?
I think the biggest question here is Ciampa coming back? Is Ciampa ready? Is he showing up here or not? If he is, then that opens up a whole host of options for you going forward. If he's not, obviously it's less so, and I think the winner would change in this. I think if Ciampa is ready, Gargano's winning. I think you look at the TakeOver for WrestleMania weekend down there in New Orleans. I think you want Gargano, Ciampa with the title to main event, and especially with you signing Candice LeRae now, you have an option of her showing up in the ring and maybe letting Ciampa escalate it by attacking her or something like that. So I think there's a lot of ways to go here with Ciampa around, and I really hope they play him smart here and he lets Gargano win the title before he attacks him. I think that would just be wonderfully brilliant.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. And what's interesting about it is with Candice LeRae, which I honestly didn't even put that together. And I think if it happens the way you're putting it in my mind, I'm excited. Mm-hmm. That is going to be a great moment because she'll be celebrating with Gargano, and the next thing you know, Ciampa leaves Gargano in a bloody mess. Mm-hmm. And she has to watch the entire thing take place in front of her. I think it's a good decision if they go that route. I mean, I don't know, Sean, how do you feel? I mean, it's leaning towards me thinking Gargano's going to win.
Oh, Sean.
Uh-oh. Did we lose Sean here? I don't hear Sean. So, well, I guess me and you will just kind of close this thing out. Sean may have had some internet issues or something like that. But we will now move on. Let's go ahead and talk some Royal Rumble, Paul.
Let's do it.
A king is born. I told you before.
Take it away, Gary.
All right, well, let's start this thing up by talking a little pre-show to the Royal Rumble. Bobby Roode is going to be taking on someone for his Intercontinental title. That's right, the Glorious One will be taking up an open challenge. And whoever they may be, Paul, we don't know. But it could be fun if it's just a random superstar or even a legend. I don't know, but I'm excited about seeing the open challenge, how it takes place.
It's the wrong belt.
I said the U.S. title. I'm sorry. The U.S. title. I've got the Miz on my brain. I don't know what I'm thinking, guys. I'm an idiot. Sorry about that. I have big aspirations for Bobby Roode, Paul. I want him to move on past the U.S. title. I want him to be an IC champion. Okay, both U.S. title.
Both make card belts. Why not? I don't know who Bobby takes on here. I'm kind of excited for this. This is obviously sort of them scrambling to find a way to put a championship match on the pre-show since the whole fallout with Enzo Amore. So I like this. It kind of stinks that we won't have Bobby in the Royal Rumble, but I like a title challenge here too. Who it's going to be, you have no idea though, just because you have so many people committed to so many different avenues across both brands. So interesting to see who it will be, but I would think you have Bobby come out the winner.
Yeah, I think so too. What do you think, Sean?
I think so as well. Sorry, we're doing this at a normal hour. So
there's daylight outside.
That means children decide to walk in the door like they don't care. And, well, I figured you guys didn't want to hear Anaya screaming and everything, so.
I appreciate it.
But yeah, so, you know what? I think it's going to have some impact from maybe something that happens in NXT, and maybe they go off of that. Obviously, this was not meant to be on the show, so they could do something. There's that whole Pete Dunne is got taken off a show and he's free, maybe you use him in this capacity and have him go for the U.S. title. I think if he looks really good against Bobby Roode and loses, I don't think it hurts him too much. Plus, it's not like the UK title's really doing anything on WWE TV that much.
Oh, man, Sean, you just made me think of another hashtag. Hashtag swing.
Oh my god.
Bobby Roode, Pete Dunne in the same ring. I am ready to go.
Glorious does not begin to cover that.
No, not even a bit. So
watch out, Gary. You might, cause another pregnancy.
Yeah, I know, right? This could be another problem.
Sunday could be messy.
Oh, yeah. So don't worry. I got my friends Gallows and Anderson mopping up for me here. They'll be taking on the Revival. And this is going to be, I think, a fun match. I don't know how great it's going to be. I love the Revival. I mean, I love the Revival so much. I'm going to vote Revival even if they don't win. But what do you guys think? What do you think, Paul?
I think the Revival need to win. I think Gallows and Anderson need to win. This is kind of tough. I'm leaning towards Gallows and Anderson simply because I think I like them more to be the next Raw Tag Team Champions and maybe let the Revival feud with them. Because Gallows and Anderson are sort of on that bridge between face and heel right now with what they're doing with Finn. So I like them to win here. I like them to challenge Rollins and Jordan down the road.
Yeah, I would think Gallows, if you're pushing Balor Club, I think Gallows and Anderson winning here would make a lot of sense. I mean, I guess you could have the Revival win and have Gallows in a feud with them regardless, but I feel like after the way you treated them on Monday, it seems almost counterintuitive to then have them win. So Gallows and Anderson get this one. They become tag champions, and we'll see how that goes from there. Poor Revival.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully down the line they'll get theirs, though. Let's talk about the 205 Live brand. They'll get their own little pre-show match here. Kalisto, Lince Dorado, along with Grand Metalik. They'll be taking on TJP, Jack Gallagher, and Drew Gulak.
I like the heels to win here. I also like Gulak putting on the best PowerPoint presentation we've ever seen before the match.
Yes. Oh, man. So, yeah, I think Babyface is going over here. What do you got, Sean?
What, the Cruiserweight thing?
Yeah, Cruiserweights.
Babyface team.
Yeah, I think it's probably the best. Well, that pretty much wraps up the pre-show, and so we'll jump into the main part of the show. The WWE SmackDown Tag Team titles will be on the line. This will be a 2 out of 3 falls match, and this will, of course, include the Usos defending against none other than Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable. And, boy, this will be something I'm really kind of curious about. I mean, do you think, Sean, we'll have new champs?
Sorry. What match are we talking about?
Gable and Benjamin taking on the Usos.
I don't know. I feel like the Usos don't need to be... I just don't feel like the Usos need to be losing to this team. Just the Usos have been so good. I'm good with them keeping them. You could do the switch just to freshen it up and give new champs and who they're going to feud with after the Usos, we'll see. But I don't know. I feel like I keep it with the Usos and see what happens.
I have two problems with that. One, we still don't know if there's going to be any disciplinary action against Jey Uso for the drunk driving incident. Two, I think the Usos are running out of people to face that feel fresh unless they're going to toss in the Bludgeon Brothers after this. And I'll be honest with you, I've kind of dug Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable's work for the last month. They've really started, I think, to come together a little bit. I like them to win here, and I like them to cheat to do it. Just to sort of not only freshen up the scene, but I think it gives the Usos a sort of a fresh way to feud with them if you want to keep going that way, or if you want to have Benjamin and Gable face the New Day, or or anybody else, I think it'll work.
Yeah, I mean, I want so badly for Shelton Benjamin to have something accomplished in his new run here. So I almost want to just hand him the title. But I think, Sean, you're onto something. I think the Usos have done so good with the time that they spent with the belts. I'm going to flip a coin. I'm going to go ahead and say we got new SmackDown champions. I'll go ahead and say Gable and Benjamin on this one. But the Raw Tag Team titles will also be up for grabs. That's right. We'll have Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan defending their titles up against the Bar, Sheamus and Cesaro. And I am going to lead towards more Jason Jordan and Seth Rollins still winning because the Bar has not really looked good.
For me, I think it's Rollins and Jordan too, just because I think you can already tell what the plan's going to be for these guys. They're going to split somewhere down the road. They're going to have to, and they're going to have the big Mania match between the two. And knowing WWE and how they book these things, when you split, you usually fight a whole bunch. And they'd rather wait as long as they can to split them up. Maybe wait till Fastlane, and have them split there. And that way it'll feel fresher and you can sort of take all that energy into WrestleMania instead of having to drag it out a whole extra month. So I like Rollins and Jordan to win here, and I like Jordan to get the fall. And maybe the most douchiest way possible. Like, make this guy look like a real jerk for getting the victory.
Yeah. You go, in these kind of situations, you go with the one that's got the storyline. Right? And I think Jason Jordan, Seth Rollins, they got their thing going on. Jordan is, if they're not pushing him towards turning, I don't know what Vince is looking at. Maybe he's got too much, a certain other kind of sport on the brain right now. But I feel like this is all starting to make the waves so that you can start seeing the hints that Jordan is thinking about other things, but they're somehow going to keep the belts and retain him. Even if it's one of those where, like, oh, somebody hits the other one, but they make a big splash and they still save and get the win. I could see that happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we're all on that end. I think Jason Jordan, he's annoying. He's, not my favorite, but I think somehow, some way, something's going to happen where things fall into place for him and Rollins, and then they'll, of course, do what Paul said and just destroy each other later. Let's go ahead and move on and talk about the big heavyweight title matches here. The WWE Championship will be up for grabs. AJ will be defending against Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn. This will be, sure, very interesting because we have the GM and the commissioner also very heavily involved in this. Who knows what's going to take place? What do you got, Sean? Who do you think is going to win this one?
Sorry, and now it keeps coming in and get distracted. What?
AJ Styles, Sami Zayn, and Kevin Owens.
I really want that co-title reign to happen. Like that, it's something we haven't seen in a long time. And if there's two guys that could make it work, it's Owens and Zayn. But I feel like this is meant for AJ to just beat them, and perhaps you see some breakups start happening or some issues start going on between these guys. I feel like this is meant just for AJ to get the win, and they'll have to figure it out after that. But yeah, I just really want Zayn and Owens to win so bad, though.
I'm with you. I'm super intrigued by the idea of them being co-world champions. But I think you look at this, AJ Styles and the WWE World Heavyweight title are second fiddle to the feud between Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Daniel Bryan, Shane McMahon, all that going along. And AJ's sort of just stuck in the middle playing along until they figure out what they're going to do with him at WrestleMania. So I think you get some good wrestling here. I think you have Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon end up interjecting themselves somehow, and all of the crazy shenanigans shake out to where AJ walks out with the title still.
Yeah, especially if that plan is for him and Shinsuke at WrestleMania. He's got to keep the belt for that to happen.
Yeah, I think you guys are right, and I think the co-championship thing would be so entertaining, but I mean, it's so hard for me not to see AJ walking out without that championship. So I got to go that route too. So, but now let's move on and talk about the Universal Championship, and this is another match with 3 people involved. It'll be a triple threat match between none other than the champion himself, the Beast, Brock Lesnar, taking on Braun Strowman, and, of course, Kane. So this one, oh boy, they made it out to look like Braun's going to win this. I personally think Brock's going to still be the champion following this. What do you guys got?
Yeah, I mean, Brock's going to win, Braun's going to kill some people, Kane's taking the fall. And the interest of nobody has been piqued. So
that's very true. Oh man.
Can we get a surprise?
No.
Braun wins or something.
I want it to be true so bad. I think Braun Strowman, Roman Reigns at WrestleMania is so much more interesting.
Yeah, they're so good together. I mean, not that Roman and Brock have had really good matches too. That's if we're talking about just match perspective. I don't think it's bad either way. But it's like we've done this thing with Roman and Brock. Are we really going to? The only thing that you got with Roman that got him to where people were really cheering him was when he was doing stuff with the Shield. Mm-hmm. That's done. He's back to being the Roman people don't really like, or most of the people anyway. And I don't know that wrestling Brock is going to do, doing that a second time is going to do anything. I mean, they can keep believing it is, but I'm like hoping that like this XFL thing is making like where Vince says, you know what, Triple H, you do what you want to do now. I am focused on some other sport. And maybe you get to change all the directions you want. But that's living in fantasy land. Obviously, Brock's going to win. And we'll get the match that we've been waiting on for a while.
Mm.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, hey, I think a lot of people would be very happy with that. But I think we'll hopefully see some of those changes take place in the near future. And, what's leading up to this Royal Rumble is, of course, a lot of interesting things. But the Rumble themselves are the big key parts of this show. And I think they'll also kind of spell out what's going on in the future, especially at WrestleMania. Let's start out by talking about that 30 women match, that Royal Rumble match that's going to mean so much with Stephanie McMahon also standing at ringside, sitting over there. Who do you got coming out of this? I know. They've got what, 18 people named for this 30 women match? Is it?
That's correct.
Yeah. So, who do you got here, Paul? Who do you think is coming out victorious?
It's got to be Asuka, right? I mean, with Paige gone, I don't think there's anybody else who you could really make a strong case for winning this. And I'd be really interested to try to see somebody else try to make a good point. Outside of Asuka, just because she still hasn't really lost yet. She's still looking as dominant as you want. I think you have her come in near the end, somewhere after 25, so you can get all the legends and everything else and all the fun stuff out of the way, and then end it with Asuka killing everybody else that's left in the ring. I think that's perfect.
Yeah, I feel like, that whole story about they're bringing up a lot of people from NXT here, that's what's going to fill out most of that number that we don't know yet, just so that they can kind of keep that under wraps. Mm-hmm. I feel like if it's not Asuka winning this, then why are you keeping her undefeated at this point? Why are you going through all this stuff? You're doing we thought that, Asuka might be that next casualty of, oh God, they're going to screw her up when she gets main roster, and they haven't done it. I feel like they're keeping her like that just because this is her time for the Rumble. If the rumor is that, Ronda's busy with a movie and she can't even be there anyway, there's no reason for anybody but Asuka to win. If somehow she can show up, then I really hope that Asuka's not the last one eliminated at that point, because then I almost think it makes her look worse. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to hope and pray for Asuka here.
See, the problem is that we were really hoping that Asuka wasn't involved in this match so we could have it to be a multitude of ways or people, and it's so hard to go against Asuka. I hate to be just generic and say the same name you guys are, but until I know that they're off this whole thing of keeping the streak alive, you got to go Asuka. How can you go against it? I mean, I've really not seen any shades of them trying to take that streak away.
Is it really... Does she really lose something for losing in a Royal Rumble match so she doesn't get pinned?
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, the aura about Asuka is what's important right now, especially with you not having done a whole ton of her being front and center yet. So I think it's very important for her to look good in this. I think it, like, who's the dark horse? Who do you think, if it's not Asuka, who would be your second choice? That's probably the more interesting conversation here.
I would say they could do something where, like, it's some cheap ass, like, she makes somebody mad, and I'll say it's like, one of the NXT people just come and, like, hey, Peyton Royce could come in and they flash back to that when they had a match or whatever, and they had the issues between each other, and Peyton Royce just does that thing where you pull him out of the ring, and, gets the cheap loss or whatever, and I don't know that it would hurt her that much, but yeah, I think it really just depends on who's coming in, right? What legends are showing up, who's coming from NXT. I feel like the only other person for me would maybe Becky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Becky's a good choice. I think that she would be somebody that you could take serious and really think that, hey, she's been through a lot of crap, been through a lot of downtimes. It'd be a great moment for her to have a big match at WrestleMania. Sean, you mentioned Peyton Royce. I think Billie Kay. They're going to be an amazing tag team involved in a Royal Rumble because they're going to help each other the entire time if they're involved together. But storylines there. Lots of different people you could say in this whole scope of things. But now that Paige isn't involved in this Rumble, it makes you just really wonder who you could put and really give a fair shot to. I think it's crazy. I really do. But it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't have someone like Becky Lynch. But Sasha Banks would probably be one of the other ones that I would say that they may be willing to give another shot to see if she could do something special down the line.
I think those are two fantastic choices. I'll also throw out the idea that Alexa comes in and manages to mess up something for Asuka that she would rather face Nia at WrestleMania and sort of set it up that way to try to see if she can't win her friend over to let her win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that'd be a great, because they've been teasing the storyline of keeping that friendship together, right? And so
it's super interesting now that Enzo is not with the company anymore.
I know. And all of a sudden, she falls out of love somehow.
Yeah.
So I hope some way, somehow, they have find out that Enzo was cheating on her, and she just has his hair or his scalp, said, "I took care of my problem." You know what I mean?
My God.
Great TV we have by all.
Yeah. So. And she just throws the cruiserweight title at somebody. Here, you can have this now. Rich Swann's like, thanks. I needed something to help me out of the bad stuff. But yeah. No, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I really am looking forward to the Women's Royal Rumble. I think there's going to be a lot of interesting things, a lot of craziness, but it's going to be really fun to really see who does walk out as the winner of that Royal Rumble. The Men's Royal Rumble also is headed our way, and that's going to be very interesting because it's probably going to be leading up to maybe who's headlining WrestleMania this year. And, I mean, there's a multitude of people here too, Sean. Who is your favorite coming out?
I feel like it's down to Roman winning again, Shinsuke winning for the SmackDown side to face AJ. I want to believe that Daniel Bryan story so badly. I think we all do. I think any wrestling fan that's been through that period and really wants to see Bryan in the ring, I think that would be just one of those cool moments. But I just don't think they'll do it. I think that they know the moment he's in the match, if he doesn't win, you're going to have another year like that year.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be total chaos. And this is Philadelphia. I mean, you don't get any more chaotic than them. I'll say it's between either one of those two, and I'll say Shinsuke wins because you don't need Roman to win again. He can face Brock without necessarily needing to win the Rumble.
Right. I can't remember if Raw has Fastlane or Elimination Chamber now to save my soul, but whichever one they have, you could do a number one contenders match there. I feel like that should be the point of having the other show for the other brand if you don't win the Royal Rumble. So, I've seen a lot of picks for Finn. I don't really ever think you could probably count out Cena either, just because with Taker seemingly out of the picture, I don't know if you necessarily have a clear plan for Cena at WrestleMania either. But I picked Shinsuke as well. I think, you do it while both AJ and Shin are still around, because we don't know how long AJ is going to be here. I certainly don't think you know how long Shinsuke is going to be here, so let him get the chance while you can.
I'm not saying because I don't want to see Shinsuke I win. I want to see him win. It's just that you guys kind of picked the one I had picked, so now I've got to find somebody else. I would pick Heath Slater because he's got kids.
He do got kids.
To be different, I'm not going Finn Balor. I'm not going Matt Hardy. Oh. You know what? Screw it. You know what? I'll say Roman Reigns just because it sucks. In Philadelphia, let's see how they reacted this time when Roman wins.
Right? It'll be like, we're back to the scene of the crime where people cheered Roman.
Just as loud and pissed off as 2011 was.
Just the only problem is Rocky's not there to save him.
Or 2013 or whatever year it was he won.
Yeah. So, but hey, I think there's a lot of viable choices. There's lots of people we don't even know that's going to be involved in this. So, I'm really looking forward to it. I know a lot of people hope the Rusev Day happens at the end of the Royal Rumble. That would be beautiful too. So, but anyway, well, there you go, guys. That is the entire Royal Rumble card. We broke it down. We gave you our predictions. Check us out. Sunday night, we'll be doing a show, hopefully, as long as everything works out, for us to be able to get together and really break this whole entire pay-per-view down. We'll be getting it to you, so that way, hopefully Monday morning on your car ride to work or your lunch break, you'll be listening to us talk all about all the great stuff that came out of that. We'll also be doing NXT review as well, so we're looking forward to those two shows coming at you. All right, guys, well, now it is time for us to move into some wrestling news. So let's jump into some quick hits.
It's time for wrestling news. Quick hits.
Go for it, Gary.
All right, well, let's get through these things that we have, and then one of the biggest one is the XFL is back. That's right, guys. In 2020, the XFL, it's not 2001. That's right. It is actually a real. This thing is going to be interesting. Sean had mentioned that Vince may be kind of putting his eyeballs more on this product, which could be the truth. He's kind of going back to what we kind of saw before a little bit. 8 teams. We have 40-man rosters. We'll have a 10-week regular season schedule, with the playoffs being more like the college system with 2 semifinal games and then a championship game. And, there's also a lot of political talk around this. I saw a lot of people kind of chatting and tweeting out there about their displeasure that this could be the GOP league. It's kind of funny that they said that. But anyway, I'm very interested in what you guys have to think about the XFL coming back. I'm kind of excited. I know it's really a nerdy thing to say, but I'm kind of happy to see this come back.
I'm just as interested as I was the first time around. Just because not this time around, I think it made so much more mainstream media news. Obviously WWE has the deal with ESPN now, so they were covering this very heavily. And just, I think where the internet is right now too, I think you announced a new football league and something that could possibly fill the void of off-season football being an actual thing. When it comes to the NFL, I think people are going to jump all over this too. So I'm interested. I'm really interested to see what kind of rules they come up with, because they obviously cannot do a lot of the stuff they did the first time around with concussions and all that great stuff. And they They seem like Vince made a big deal about this being very fan-oriented. What kind of rules do they want to see in place? What would make the game of football more enjoyable for them? And, I mean, the memes have been crazy, too, about him saying that 3.5 hours of football is a little rough to sit through. Vince, what happens every Monday, buddy?
True.
Yeah. I mean, pot called the kettle there.
Yeah.
This is interesting, obviously, because it draws attention from so many different avenues. I mean, WWE's sitting there promoting it on their own Twitter, and it is supposed to be separate from WWE, but you've got, WWE's marketing arm in this everywhere. There's pictures of Triple H watching it. I think this is, once again, this puts a lot of emphasis on whatever Vince is going to be doing at that time. And we're 2 years out now. We're not even like a year or 10 months or whatever the timeline was before. They're doing it the right way. They're giving him a lot of time to figure this out. It's going to be interesting how they roll this out with the team names, where the team's going to be located, all that kind of stuff. And let's see what happens. Does this eventually mean a handoff to Triple H at some point, or is that sale that's been rumored gonna be what happens as a result of this, where Vince says, look, I gotta focus on this thing and I gotta focus on it, with every fiber of my being. I can't do WWE anymore, and I'd rather somebody else have it than, my family carry it on or whatever, which I think would be very, very unfortunate. But because once WWE becomes even more corporate, where it's owned by other people that have no idea what it is, or try to change it into what it's not, I think you're going to lose any bit of soul that it might still have.
It's go ahead.
Go ahead, Gary. No, go ahead.
No. I'm ready to listen to you. What do you have to go?
I mean, as far as looking at this from a WWE perspective, there's been a fair few articles that I've read saying that what Vince has done as far as selling the stock and getting $100 million basically ready to help set this up and all that, it's not going to be enough. So maybe a sale of WWE is in the future, just because that would certainly give you much more. But at that same point, UFC made that blockbuster deal and Dana White's still involved. There's nothing saying I think the McMahons couldn't still be involved in some fashion. It just wouldn't be their company anymore, basically. So that certainly is something big to keep an eye on for sure. Just how all of that is going to shake out. And if Vince does say maybe it's time for me to go over here and get this started and you guys just watch over this and I can give you my input whether you want it or not, or, you're going to take my input whether you want it or not, and it's just in a diminished role.
I just wonder if, the family will support him selling the company off, though. I wonder if it's, okay, I sell it off, but it's really no longer WWE because there's nobody that's really been involved with it, because they all said, screw this, we're not gonna be owned by some other corporation. So it's gonna be interesting how this all plays out. I mean, there's time, they don't have to do it right now, but I just wonder why you wouldn't just go try to find other investors to put in the money. There's always people wanting to own football teams and sports teams and stuff. I mean, it seems really weird that it's like you've got to own all of it. It's a single entity system. Do you really need to be the only one putting all the money in this?
I mean, do you think that's just how Vince prefers things? Like, it's his idea, it's only his input? That sounds very Vince to me.
I know, but it's just like, this is different. This is sports. Like, you can be your own thing in WWE, and that's fine, or in wrestling, and, you can only listen to yourself. But in sports, you need the other people around you to... Because, Vince hasn't been in this. This is a different deal than what he's been in. Yeah, it's all a business, but when it comes to making sure this is profitable and this works and everything else, it just I don't know. I worry about him saying, let's just do the same thing, but we're doing it in football, and you've already failed one time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. And there's so many different components about this. And I think, when this thing all originally happened, there was a lot of rumors that wrestlers were a little upset because they felt like, more money was being spent on the football and they weren't spending enough money to make sure the WWE product was what it needed to be. And then, of course, the same goes for the other side. People were thinking, well, you can't distract yourself. If you want this XFL thing to work, you need to have all your attention on it and not be splitting your time. So there's lots of things that go into this, and whether Vince McMahon decides he wants to sell the company or what, he's going to have to make those decisions, and they're going to be very, very hard. I know this. WB will feel so weird if it's not owned by the McMahon family. It really will. It just will not feel the same. And whoever buys it, who knows? It may be like we're seeing with, Anthem and these other places who buy a product, don't really know it, have to hire people to run it because they don't know it. And wouldn't it be the funniest thing if you get this to take place and then the McMahon family is fired from working for WWE, and the next thing you know, you hear this. And then you're thinking to yourself, oh boy, a new era. So, you could be in 2020 talking about Bischoff being the lead guy in WB.
Did we just go back to 2001? Like, what's happening right
now? Yeah, that's all it's, Bischoff comes in, then Hogan comes in too.
Oh, man.
We'll just have all the old guys again.
And they're just laughing because WCW finally won.
Yes.
Yeah, right, yeah.
As long as I get Halloween Havoc back, I will be okay with it. So. But anyway. Well, enough kidding. The XFL, it's once again something that's in the future. We just want to make sure people know we understand it's around, and it's going to throw a lot of speculation your way. It's throwing it our way for sure, so we'll probably talk about this a little bit more. But we have some other big news to talk about. Let's talk about Enzo Amore being released. Yeah, I know it happened Monday night. But hey, it did happen, and we honestly, on our Tuesday morning show, we kind of talked a little bit about this, that it could be the possibility. At the time, we didn't know it was official. It is official. He is gone. He is done. Kaput. So that means that, following along the case that'll be taking place or whatever is going to happen, he has a possibility of having a future in wrestling somewhere else, or maybe not even having a future. But we know it's not with WWE. And Sean, I thought this might be coming. I thought this guy had been a little bit too much trouble. It seems like it has come to fact, and it is here.
Right. I think this is when, being up front with your employer is very important in any walk of life. I was very fortunate where that happened to me. I had a situation happen like that to me. And I had just started at that employer, literally that week. And it was something where, I got caught stealing at Walmart. So I have to do a 1-year probation. It doesn't really ever interfere with what I was doing at Kroger. So I didn't really have to tell them. And in fact, I thought that they already knew because, you can find that mugshot online. So, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, they already know. Well, the thing with Enzo is much different. Nobody knows anything unless that girl comes out and says something. Yeah, maybe maybe there was a deal made between them, and later, and Enzo thought, okay, I'm free. This will never come out. I don't have to say anything. And maybe she just felt like, with what's been going on, she felt like, okay, this is my time to say something. This wasn't right, and I want to say it, whether she winds up being correct or not. Because again, as we talked about on Monday, she's not the most truthful person, and I'm not trying to diminish what she's saying or the act itself or anything like that. It's just you have to remember, not every person that comes out here and claims this is honest, right? How many of these false claims happen? So I think for Enzo, and what all happens with him is, I think for me, if this winds up like another thing like Glory Pro, and this is completely true, if you're Impact Wrestling, if you're anybody else, if you're touching this guy, I don't know that I want to watch your company.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is one of the lowest forms of, to me, it's right up there with killing somebody and maybe a couple of, child molestation and whatever. When you decide to do something like that, and if it's true, he doesn't need to be touched by anybody. I'm sorry, your career's over. You made one of the gravest mistakes you can make. Now, if this girl just went out there and is trying to ruin his career and say a bunch of crap that didn't happen, then okay, go ahead. You know what? He deserves to have that moment where he, gets some revenge and does well in Impact, or I think Impact would probably be the only place that could really take him, honestly. And maybe he wants to sell his way back at WWE at some point, but yeah, it all depends on this story and the validity of it.
Right. Because, his release here is basically WWE looking for a reason to get rid of him. And it's not even whether it's about because he's guilty or innocent. It's because whether you believe all the stuff that came out about him or not being a problem backstage, him not telling them about this was the reason I think they were looking for to get rid of him. You heard there's all sorts of rumors that they didn't even want to bring him up because they didn't think he was going to be worth much and all that. So I think this is... obviously, Enzo did not play this very smartly, and WWE finally got the reason they were looking for and canned him. So, don't let the door hit you on the way out is what they're thinking. And, if Enzo, after this, is going to be an interesting story to keep an eye on for sure. But, you can't... Let's use our brain for smart making in the future, Enzo. Let's do that.
Yeah, for sure. And, the one thing is when a company like WWE is mad at you, is not because they send out a statement saying that you're fired, but they don't say best wishes on your future endeavors.
Yep.
So that means they're pretty pissed off. They're just like, he's been cut. There you go, folks. So, once again, we don't know the facts about this stuff. We're not sitting here indicting him because we're saying he's released. We're just letting you know he was cut. Mm-hmm. We'll find out what happens down the line. For me, if I was in his situation, my best argument would be, look, guys, I'm going to admit right now I was wrong with what I did. All the stuff that happened here is not true. I'll prove it to you. I am SAWFT, soft, if I have to prove it, things like that. Just to make people kind of understand his real position. But you haven't heard his position. You just kind of heard a little things here and there. So it makes you wonder what's going on.
His attorneys have come out and said, the statement about this woman's been lying and all that stuff. But,
right.
What are they supposed to say?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
That's true.
For me, it's such an awkward situation, right? How do you come out and tell your employer, well, I did a bunch of stupid shit that I didn't need to be doing, and I might have, done something that's really bad, and I don't know if it's going to come out or not, but I'm letting you know. Mm-hmm. It's just I don't know what you say at that point, but if you're Enzo and you've been already in the doghouse, if you say something like that, they might can you just for letting them know.
Yeah, that's
so.
True. That's true.
I don't know at that point if he was just stuck, mm-hmm. and it was going to be curtains for him either way.
Yeah, I think so. It's just the way it worked out. And, we'll continue to follow the story. But Enzo being gone, I don't think really hurts anything. It just, let's be honest, it really does not change much in the scope of things. Now, Roman Reigns is a guy that things would definitely be changed. And, we thought we had cleared this thing up. It still may be cleared up. But I want the people to know out there that we got a little bit more information. Apparently, the man that has, basically stated that Mark Wahlberg, Roman Reigns, and some other celebrities have been involved in his steroid scandal and that he has sold to these people. Richard Rodriguez has come out and said he can prove that Roman Reigns had bought from him in the past. So who knows if this is true or not. But, it's interesting, Paul, that he says he can prove it.
It is. Supposedly he has like tracking numbers and conversations and stuff like that he said he's going to let out in snippets. Basically, this guy's trying to get his sentence reduced is what's happening. So, whether this ends up into an investigation into Roman's use of it or not, whether it happened or not, I don't know. But it presents a very interesting problem if this guy can prove it. Does he get investigated? What's WWE going to do? Is it just going to be another wellness strike? Is this fireable? I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. What could it be? I mean, I don't know, Sean. How do you feel about this? With this coming out about Roman and possibly being, actually doing this.
I don't know. I mean, like, we know how Vince feels about steroids, right? He doesn't really think it's that big a deal. I think what does become a big deal for them is if this becomes a scandal where major news gets hit with it and people are sitting there going, okay, why aren't you doing something about Roman? And this is where WWE's, legitimacy comes into play. People start, saying how legit is that wellness policy? And I don't think you want people you don't want people talking about that. You don't want people touching that. You don't want people saying things about the wellness policy in major media. It's different when wrestling journalism and whatever you call that, the dirt sheets talk about it and go, oh, well, those, there's certain people that are never going to be implicated in this and all that stuff. But I think it's a different deal when you get ESPN and more talking about inner things that you don't really like talking about unless it's, okay, well, we have to talk about this guy because he got wellness striked. Mm-hmm. And, I don't think they would fire him. I think it would have to be something like, I just don't know that it's big enough to where you're like, do you fire him over something like that? I mean, he already, maybe at the most, like Paul said, you just give him another wellness strike, suspend him, and say, okay, well, this will go away in like 30 days and, whatever.
I think if it makes mainstream media, do you maybe elongate the sentence, maybe go 60 days? I don't know what you do here, just because this seems like a
suspend him indefinitely until it goes away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's where I would lean, and you see this in other places, whether it be a corporate office or things like that, where they feel like, there's not a clear-cut thing that really indicts someone, or they don't feel like it's as big a deal as maybe people are pushing it out to be. So I think that Roman definitely, I don't think, would be fired right away. It would take something really major. I think that they would probably try to hide him away until they could kind of clear his name a little bit more than that.
Even if he lied about something, I just think it's, not to mention, we got to remember, there's a competition thing here at play. Do you really want ROH or New Japan getting a hold of Roman Reigns? Not really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's one of those guys that could make a dent, could make a difference if he goes somewhere. Now, I mean, again, the obvious name to put in there is Impact, but I don't know that Impact, whoever you put on there, does anything. But if you say Kenny Omega or all the, Cody Rhodes, all those guys go in and tell, hey, Roman, over here's going good. Look at what we're doing in the U.S. Look at, we've had Jericho over here. Look at all this. And he says, oh, well, WWE fired me. And he goes over there. I mean, I think that makes a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you bring up a valid point. I think Vince McMahon would think on the same lines. I really, really do. So I don't think he would get fired. Like I said, I think you guys, when you talked about maybe a suspension that's kind of extended, I think that's probably where it would go. But who knows if it even happens? Once again, this is a rumor. The guy's probably just blowing smoke just to see, how much he can get out there, fix things for him a little bit. So. Let's also talk about another rumor that we have here. There's been lots of talk about The Miz and him being the Intercontinental title holder and why he got the Intercontinental title away from Roman Reigns. Well, there's speculation and rumor going around that there's going to be quite a nice push for him going into WrestleMania, and that the opponent that they would put in front of him would be Braun Strowman. Ooh, man, that's a pretty big opponent.
This feels like maybe that this was going to be Samoa Joe's spot to me, and that Joe's injury sort of had to sidetrack some plans, and so you throw Braun in there. Just because I think you look at what you're going to do post-Royal Rumble with Braun, I don't know what you do with him. I don't know if putting him in the ring with The Miz is a great idea, just because I really like The Miz too. I don't want to see him die, like...
Especially, his wife's having that baby. I mean, he needs to be staying alive.
Breathing is important when you have children.
Yeah.
You're right. I think the major part, I do feel like it would work as Miz is a great foil for almost anybody, and I think in that sense it may work. And Braun getting to be IC champion would be a cool moment for him too. I don't know. I feel like Samoa Joe might have worked better just because Joe can also talk on the microphone. They could have some legendary promo duels.
Right.
Yeah. It's just so sad this is Samoa Joe's spot because I think I would love to see that matchup. Miz and Samoa Joe. I mean, I would be just ecstatic. But I think Braun's great. I think he has a lot to offer. It's not the matchup that I want. It's just not. So, and honestly, I really want Braun Strowman in other ways, in other places. So, who knows? And the way things work around this company, anything can happen. And the one thing that may not, and most likely will not happen, though, is that at Royal Rumble, there probably will not, and most likely will not be Ronda Rousey in the women's Rumble match. And reason being is because Rousey has come out and said that she is going to be in Colombia filming Mile 22, so that will not be possible for her to be in two places at once. So we'll see if this is all a smoke screen or very real, which I think I'm leaning toward it being very real. But there's also some other things coming into play with Stephanie McMahon being ringside and going to be the color commentator or part of that team during that Women's Royal Rumble match. So it also makes you think that maybe she's doing that for her own reasons, to be a part of the Rumble, to maybe if Ronda did show up, she'd be a part of it. And the other thing is maybe she just wants her voice heard while this whole thing's going on. But lots of different things going on here. I mean, Sean, as you hear those things, what do you think?
Well, the Ronda not being there thing, I feel like we've discussed that already. And, it is what it is. She's there for WrestleMania. And Stephanie, I feel like Stephanie is perfect for the JBL role of, oh, she's there. Oh, hey, my music hit. Oh, hey, I guess I got to go in the ring now. And then she gets knocked out by somebody. And I feel like you don't tease that whole thing with Ronda from years ago if you're not going to have Stephanie be involved in the match. But, I almost think that it's also important for whatever you're going to do WrestleMania with her, it needs to be an actual wrestler, not someone that doesn't wrestle all the time.
Mm-hmm. I might be in the clear minor. I don't think Stephanie's going to be in the match. I think this is WWE and their women's division cannot make history unless Stephanie McMahon has an imprint on it somewhere, whether it's announcing the championship or calling a match. The McMahon blood runs strong, guys.
Grown.
I believe Ronda. We've talked about this before. She's going to be making that movie. I don't think she's going to be there.
Yeah.
She takes her movies seriously.
Mm-hmm. So. And she should. That's her breadwinning thing at the moment. So, but yeah, I mean, that's a couple things to throw out there. We're still talking a little Rumble here, and I'm just very interested why Stephanie's ringside. But I mean, you're right, Paul. They love to have their stamp on whatever is big, and that's what the McMahons do. So,
how many times? Oh God, I feel like we could start a drinking game with how many times somebody's going to say history.
Oh. I don't know. Jeez.
We'll all be drunk coming in the review. Whoa!
I can't do the review. I can't do it.
Yeah. Okay, what? Anyway, yeah, but it's just some other things going on besides fun drinking games. Let's talk about Rich Swann and the fact that he has been cleared of all charges. That's right, his December arrest is now something we can put in the past, and it can be historic. But prosecutors did say that insufficient evidence, whatever it is just the reason why. So. Good job for Rich Swann being cleared. I mean, if that's the case, I'm glad for him.
Yeah, I don't know if this means he'll still have that black mark with the company or not for just being involved in something like this, but hopefully it means he can come back on screen because they really could use somebody entertaining for that division, and Rich Swann certainly does fit that bill.
Well, Vince, this is one of those things you're going to have to learn. Having a sports company, I know that he made the point that nobody with a record is going to play for them, which I think is kind of a little absurd. But, you have to honor these things, right? If they're cleared, unless you want to be the NFL and punish them anyway, if they're cleared by the police, you're supposed to unsuspend them and let them continue doing their job. Mm-hmm. There's nothing out there that says, "Oh, he did this and he deserves it." It's not even anything like sort of cloudy, like Enzo or whatever. This is rather clear, or more clear than that. The dude's been good for the cruiserweight division ever since he's been there. I feel like it's actually a loss if he doesn't get to come back, and that would really suck.
Yeah.
I agree. I think the guy has a lot to offer, and it really sucks that he has this mark. It really, really does. And let's be honest. Let's hope that there's a reason he was cleared. Let's hope that this is not a situation where he got off, and then we're going to see a repeat offender. I just hope that's not the case. Let's just hope that Rich Swann does better. That's all I can say. Really quickly here, guys, we have some injuries we need to touch on. Samir Singh had his ACL surgery, so that is taken care of. We're also talking about Jason Jordan and his mysterious injury. Well, guess what? We found out it's not so mysterious. It is a back injury. So those two guys are trying to get healthy. What do you think, Paul? We've been talking about this mystery. Why is it a mystery now?
Just because nobody knew what was keeping him off the road. And now we know it's a back injury. So if he's still working the big stuff, though, it can't be anything super serious, which is good news. But clearly, I guess just something to keep in the back of your head that could go one way, could go the other. Samir Singh tearing his ACL was really unfortunate. It seemed like his surgery went well and everything like that, though. So maybe just be off TV for a while, because obviously you have to rehab and everything like that. But it's not like WWE's really doing all that much with the guy right now anyway, so it's sort of hard to have an attachment.
Yeah, it's always just awful to hear about someone getting a long-term injury like that, especially a torn ACL, which it seems like with athletes they come back from like it's no big deal, but there are some times where those don't heal like you expect, and they aren't the same after that. But again, you're not doing a lot with him, so it's just one of those like, well, maybe let's just hope he gets better. And as far as the other injury goes, just always weird when you have these mysterious why they're missing kind of things. Good to know that they're ready to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And we want all these guys to get better. So, we'll continue to follow Jason Jordan, and hopefully that back will get better for sure. And Samir, good job on getting your surgery taken care of. New Japan has a star that is actually injured as well right now, and that is Satoshi Kojima. He was pulled from the New Beginnings tour here, and it is actually with a ruptured left ACL. Ooh, that sounds hurtful. Painful. Oh, bad, Sean. What do you think, Sean? This sucks.
Well, he will be able to eat a lot of bread and rice now. So that is, I guess, one positive to take out of it. But so, team bread, team rice, whatever you're on, be prepared for a lot of that. But yeah, this sucks. He's in his older age, so an injury like that could be a career ender. And you already got your tag partner that's on the even older side. So yeah, it sucks. Kojima's always one of those fun guys in the tags because he has his trademark stuff. And then he's still very capable of going in the ring, and this is definitely going to hamper him.
So everything Sean said, he is an older guy, and the first thing that sort of came to mind was this very well could end his career just because, it's going to take longer for him to heal, and it might not heal correctly, and there's all this other stuff you have to worry about. But Kojima can still go. He's great in the ring, super entertaining, and the crowd just loves this guy. They can't get enough of him, so best wishes to him. And I'm all about that Bread Club. By the way, Bread Club for life.
Yeah.
Same here.
He just had to let people know, I am Japanese. I have to eat rice too.
Yeah.
Just like...
So funny, man. Oh, boy. So, hopefully for him, hopefully he gets better as well. Best wishes. One last thing, really, just honestly, a quick note here. We have a Women of Honor Championship Tournament edition. And this is, I should make sure I pronounce her name. Sumi Sakai, right?
Crushed it.
All right, good.
Gary speaks
what do you think about this?
Now. This is great.
I'm trying.
Learn Japanese with Gary.
I know.
Could you imagine?
Think about that segment on the show. Let's get that worked out, guys.
We will get all the angry emails at that point.
Yeah,
true.
I'm ready to get to this next set of TV and tapings, Gary. We still haven't seen a bracket for this tournament yet, so it's basically been us relying on little snippets like this of who's in this, and I kind of want to see the full field.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think about the addition? Do you think she's a good addition to this?
Yeah, Sumi's she's their veteran. She can basically go with anybody. I think she's had a lot of hand in training a lot of the newer Ring of Honor dojo people that have been coming up from the women's side of the roster, so... I think this is good stuff. I like Sumi. I've been a fan of her since the early 2000s.
Oh, cool. Well, good. I mean, glad to hear that this is someone that we can have a lot of fun watching. And, yeah, I'm ready to, Paul. Let's be honest. That tournament needs to hurry up and happen now. Mm-hmm. So, all right, guys. Well, that is Quick Hits. We are going to head on out of this, and we are about to jump into some New Japan. That's right. We have New Beginnings coming up. So Paul and Sean are going to break that down right after this.
King of Sport. New Japan Pro Wrestling.
All right, so I mean, this won't be a full preview of both shows since we've done so much already. But me and Sean did want to talk about the big stuff. So does that just mean title matches? Is that anything that tickles our fancy? Is that an overview, Sean? How you want to do this?
I mean, yeah, just. I guess whatever you feel like you want to talk about here, that works. Okay. I just didn't feel like we needed to go through small undercard stuff that really doesn't, if it doesn't have any meaning at all, then for 2 whole shows when we got so much on this one,
I want to talk about this one undercard bit just because I do find the person in question is very interesting, but this whole idea... is something kind of common that I don't think has happened yet for us to talk about, but that's Katsuya Kitamura doing his Best of 7 series as sort of a goodbye deal since he's getting ready to go out on an excursion. He's got Michael Elgin in the opener on the 27th, and then he's facing Juice on the 28th across the New Beginning and Sapporo shows. And this is sort of common, especially if a young lion really finds a lot of steam in a lot of promotions. Well, they'll do these sort of best of series where you get to see him actually compete against some of the heavier hitters in a company before they go away for a while, sort of leave you a good impression. And we've sort of seen this already too. We got to see Kitamura do this at New Year's Dash. So I'm really excited for both of these two. I don't think he's going to win either of them, but watching him and Elgin slug at each other is going to be quite entertaining.
Oh yeah, with Elgin, he's going to bring it. Those two are just going to wall up each other. And I just really want to see, Kitamura be able to go like that. Mm-hmm. And, how he deals with a guy that can stand up to him size-wise, and, does he still prevail at some point? And then, of course, you'd expect Elgin would eventually win, but that's going to be two Hosses going, and Hosses matches, sign me up for those. and then you get a nice contrast with Juice of just having the big man, little man game going. And, Juice is a guy that the fans really like too. So how is that going to play? Whereas, with Elgin being a Gaijin, I think they could easily go with Kitamura, but I think Juice brings so much energy that might be a little bit harder for them to totally go against him. So that'll be interesting dynamic in that match.
I agree. I agree completely. It's stuff to really look forward to. This is only his second and third matches in the series as well, so he'll still be around for a little bit longer. Looking down the 27th here, you have a big 10-man tag following that. Yano and Ishii taking on Chase Owens and Yujiro Takahashi, which, if there's not a clearer match for Chaos to win, I don't know what it's going to be, but you have this never open-weight 6-man tag title match as the Bullet Club OGs, Bad Luck Fale, and the Guerrillas of Destiny defend against Ryusuke Taguchi, Hanare, who is now going by Toa Hanare, as he's continuing to harp on the tribal New Zealander motif, and Togi Makabe for Taguchi Japan here. Taguchi's really the only one I think out of place here, but everybody else is going to beat the snot out of each other.
Yeah, Taguchi will probably be the one that gets the most beat out of him, and he will get his fair share in there as well, I'm sure. But yeah, I feel like if there's a time for Bullet Club to keep it, I think this would be it. Right here,
I would think they would keep him too. I'm really mostly just interested to see how Inari interacts with all these guys. I've been a fan of his through his Young Lion run. I'm interested to see how well people are going to take to him now that he's sort of doing this whole gimmick he's got going. But I think the Bullet Club retains here as well. So moving on from there, you have Finlay teaming up with Juice and Kota Ibushi to take on some Bullet Club members here, Marty Scurll, Hangman Page, and Cody, which could be pretty interesting. You have Will Ospreay teaming up with Yoshihashi to take on Hiromu Takahashi and Tetsuya Naito, which I'm also kind of looking forward to, as that could get kind of flippy. You have Gedo, Hiroki Goto, and Okada taking on Bushi, Evil, and Sonata from LIJ. You have Shoyo and Jay White, which is a fun pairing just because that's the whole previous Young Lion class essentially taking on the Elite here, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. And you're main evented by Tanahashi and Suzuki for the Intercontinental title. I think Suzuki's going to win this, Sean. I really do.
I do as well. I think at that point, if you're having Tana win, then there's no legs to this. Huh. I could definitely see. Tanahashi maybe going a little series with him here, just because these guys have so much history. It would be kind of weird just to see them only have one match. Suzuki wins. Allowing for, either that or, Tanahashi goes away for a little bit or something. Who knows? But, yeah, I feel like it gives something fresh to the title. You get a heel with it, so there's a lot of guys that could challenge him. And we'll see what happens from there. But this should be a really good match. If, Okada can have a great match with Suzuki, I think Tanahashi could do the same. Even in the older state, and yeah, it should be a great main event for the show. And I'm excited for that Shoyo and Jay match against the Elite, because that's going to be all kinds of awesome, and getting the three Young Lions sort of back together again is going to be a cool moment.
I can't wait for them to look at each other and be like, "What the hell happened to you?"
Yeah.
I love Suzuki as Intercontinental Champion. I still think even though he can't really go as well as he used to, he could still have great matches when the time calls for it. And he's still a great draw. I think not only here stateside, but across a pond in England or in Japan, wherever this guy goes, I think you got a great seller. So I definitely think he can keep that 1A motif for the Intercontinental title going. Looking on to the 28th here, you have some more young lions and junior action here as Shota Umino's teaming up with Taguchi, Tiger Mask, and Jushin Liger to take on Suzuki-gun. You have Yano and Ishii teaming up once again to face off against Yujiro Takahashi and Leo Tonga. An 8-man here with Hanare, Nakanishi, Hiroshi Tenzin, and Togi Makabe against some Bullet Club guys, which is basically Chase Owens and the Bullet Club OGs. Elgin's teaming up with Tanahashi once again to take on Iizuka and Suzuki here on this night as well, which could be interesting. Kushida, Dave Finlay, Kota Ibushi, facing that same Bullet Club pairing here too, Marty Scurll, Hangman Page, Cody. And you have this gigantic 10-man between all of LIJ and the requisite members of Chaos. You need to fill that out, so Ospreay and Okada plus Goto, Yoshihashi, Geto. And then these last two matches are the ones we probably want to talk about here, the title matches. Young Bucks defending the IWGP Junior Tag titles against Sho and Yo. I'm expecting this one to be a bit more showier than what we got at Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, I would expect that as well. I feel like this could be that time for Sho and Yo to get the titles back. After a fantastic match, and they really go all out this time and get the win.
I like that idea as well. I think I'm going to pick the Young Bucks here, though, just because I feel like if you want to stretch this out and tell a great story with a Roppongi 3K, you're going to need a bit more time than just a month. So maybe let this go off into the summer. Maybe let them rematch again at Dominion. Let Sho and Yo get the win there. And then the main event, Kenny Omega defending the U.S. title against Mr. Jay White, who, of course, attacked him in New Year's Dash, and you have this whole thing of him now joining Chaos instead of the Bullet Club to sort of rub it in Kenny's face. I don't see Jay winning here, but this is, I think, clearly here for Jay to have another just really strong performance against somebody, hopefully better than what we got at Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, I feel like every time you put Omega in this situation, whoops, gotta love when stuff turns on and you didn't want it to. So it just, yeah, I feel like this is made again for the Kenny Omega to come in, and it's Jay White's time to show that he can hang, right? And this is what this match is going to be. Having Jay get really, really close, and Kenny Omega beats him in the end. So, just giving that little preview for later of perhaps when Jay overthrows Okada or finally gets tired of Chaos or whatever, and he says, "Okay, I'm coming for you, Kenny." And this, that time he might actually win. Whereas I think this time it's just like a proving ground match here.
Right. Hopefully Omega gives White a little bit more than what Tanahashi gave him at Wrestle Kingdom. The stage is obviously a lot smaller, so maybe you can afford to let Jay White have that opportunity. That does it, though, for New Beginning and Sapporo stuff. That's going to be on early Saturday, early Sunday morning here, stateside, depending on where you live. If not, you can always catch it on demand on New Japan World, so...
Well, there you go, for sure. So I'll be looking forward to that. And, of course, I'm sure we'll, talk all about it and review it after it happens. So, well, let's go ahead and jump into some Impact Wrestling talk, guys. Let's do that now.
We didn't get a chance to obviously talk about Impact last week with us not doing a show since we were all sick. And maybe really the only thing we're talking about is that barbed wire massacre match, because I felt like everything else was sort of standard Impact stuff that's not really going to have a whole ton that informs on what we're going to talk about here today. But everybody was sort of talking, they took Pop TV, obviously didn't want to air it, and then there was talk that they were going to, and then Impact finally came out and said that they weren't. It's going to be on Twitch. I mean, do you want to share any thoughts that you had about that match before we jump into all this stuff?
Yeah, just really quickly, I'll talk about the fact that I think the match was fine. I think they did a decent job. It's really hard to say that was super special because we've seen matches like this, right, Paul? And I think for what they gave us, they tried to do something that was special. And I think to an extent it was. But it wasn't over-the-top special. It was something that we've kind of been there, done that in a way. So it's not something I kind of walked away saying, oh, my God, that was innovative. That was, something that really needed to be on Twitch. I think this is more on Twitch for the fact that Pop TV, like we've talked about, just didn't think that they could use it.
Right. I'm with you. It didn't seem like overly violent to me, although maybe it's just because I've seen stuff that was way worse than this that you definitely couldn't put on TV. This kind of felt a little middle of the road, and that's not to take away from their effort. They did a great job. LAX obviously does come out there and your new tag champs and everything like that, but it was an outstanding effort, but I think TNA themselves have done better barbed wire matches. So, I mean, you can take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, exactly. And, once again, if they bring out the weed whackers, maybe we'll start talking.
Man, that's probably something you don't want to put on TV.
Just kidding.
So this week on Impact is their Genesis edition of the show, which, of course, means you're going to get a lot of matches, so we may not spend a whole ton of time on this, but we get some video packages here to open to talk about all the big matches that are going on, and then we open with the Grand Championship match, which, of course, has seemingly done away with the rules for this one as EC3 defends against Matt Sydal. And seeing as we've sort of already talked about EC3 leaving the company, you might already know where this goes, and that's Matt Sydal coming out of this with the Shooting Star Press. He's your new Grand Champion, and this is a really well-told story. And for all the, sort of half-hearted build this got, I felt like EC3 was his great self here as the overconfident guy. I'm so much better than you, Matt, and Sydal just continues to prove him wrong, especially when he doesn't have the advantage of the usual belt rules working in his favor.
Exactly, and I think that, if this is the last match, I don't know if it is officially or not that he's going to be around, but I think he went out on a great match for himself. I think he put himself in a great situation to look great when it came to the entrance, to the in-ring action. EC3 did a wonderful job. Matt Sydal worked hard. I think both of them just they put on a nice match, and it was a match that I was really not looking forward to be honest with you. Without the rules, though, of that Grand Championship, it makes it so much more tolerable.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. After that, you have a video package for Allie, and then we get the Knockouts title matches. Laurel Van Ness defends against Allie, and I don't know. This was missing something for me, and especially this is hurt by the finish, too, where you go, we end up having a ref bump, Laurel gets the belt in, referee wakes up just in time to do it, which is super overdone. Not just in wrestling in general, but Impact sort of relies on this pretty often, too, throughout its history. I don't know. It just, it didn't really do a whole lot for me.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the plane of the Knockouts division in general just has not done anything lately. Mm-hmm. And this match really kind of lived up to that. I hate to say it, I really do, because you really want the division to do well. You like some of the ladies involved and all that, but I just did not feel like this was what it needed to be. I just didn't. I'm right there with you on what's missing. I don't know what's missing. I thought there would be a lot of great action. There was some decent action, but nothing that I really wanted to write home about. So Laurel Van Ness stays the champion, and I mean the match kind of felt like it should have been that way.
Right, exactly. After that, you have Moose taking on Lashley here. Lots of you have Lambert and KM at ringside. KM sticks his nose in this match on multiple times, only to get done away with by Moose. And eventually, Moose manages to overcome, ends up hitting the game changer on Lashley to get the victory. This lost something for me down the stretch. It kind of plods along, and then it gets really good, and then you sort of start getting a little slow again, and then you have KM starts jumping in, and you're just sort of taken out of it, I guess, a little bit at the end. I don't know.
I think for the most part, when you're watching this match, you kind of still realize that Moose is in developmental. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean to be, upset fans of his and all that, but sometimes I still see how raw he can be, mm-hmm. and how this guy is still trying to find his way around learning how to tell a story in the ring. And I think he works hard. I think he did an okay job in this match. I just think that we did have, like you just said, stop, start, slow, go. Like, mm-hmm. It just was never... the momentum was never really there. It just kind of plodded along. Like you used the word that is just right on that. I look at this match and say I cared way more about all the extracurriculars compared to just the match itself. I'm happy for Moose, though. Won the match against a guy like Lashley. That means something. That feels good. That's a good thing. But the other stuff was more entertaining.
Right. I agree with you. In the post-match here, you have Lambert start running down Lashley. Lashley runs KM over for it, and then goes to start trying to attack Lambert, but Moose comes in to sort of, I guess, help him. Lashley then spears Lambert through a table, and then you have the American Top Team run down and get all beat up too, and Moose and Lashley sort of shake hands. They seem all friends now, and hopefully this means that we don't have to see more American Top Team gracing our television screens every week on Impact.
Oh, God, let it be true.
Yeah.
Let it be true. If it could only be real. Yeah, if this is the way they get rid of America's Top Team, I'm okay with it. I think it was okay. I think what you got here at the end, it kind of felt like it might be because it's like, hey, we're going to go from America's Top Team doing everything they can and ruining lives, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, oh, it's all done.
Yeah.
We took care of them. So it was a very long, story to get to this point. And if this is the way it ends, as long as it's ending, I will say okay.
Mm-hmm. So. I agree with you entirely on that. I'm ready for American Top Team to be over. I was ready for this to be over back in November. We've still been dragging it out. It's almost February, so
I will say a nice exclamation mark to the end, though. Hopefully, for them putting Lambert through a table. I think that was a fun little way to do it. Although those tables, I'm just going to say those tables in Canada look like they came from Japan. No, not Japan. I don't know. They look very cheap. Japan's wrong. Japan has very strong tables. These tables look like they were made out of cardboard.
Maybe Lambert's just like, I'll take a table bump, but not an actual table bump. Like, you go find some plywood and then stick some leads on there. I'll take that,
Yeah.
We go back to Pro Wrestling Noah to see Taiji Ishimori defending the X Division title against Andrew Everett. Some clips here. This is from their January 6th show. If you're curious to see the full thing, it is up on the Real Hero the Real Hero Drive over there. So I go check those guys out for this. It's a really good match, and they show you a lot of the cool clips, but not really. I think this would have been cool to see the whole match here, just to make sure the X Division is getting a bit more of a big show on this big special.
Yeah, and I think they're still trying to showcase that they're global and really prove that point and make it, come across very well. And they do that. This match was good, like you said. There's a lot more to it that we didn't see. Ishimori winning is the most important thing to me. I feel like that they're putting him in a great position. I'm really happy with that. I think Ishimori is a great talent. The only thing I will say is that green ring was very distracting. Oh my God,
that is
it was
a
so
staple,
green.
brother.
Oh, so distracting. Oof.
I like it. It makes them stand out, especially from, All Japan used to have the half red, half blue ring to sort of segregate the corner colors, and New Japan always has the blue affair with all the ads on it, and it's real nice to see that change of pace sometimes.
Yeah, I just feel like they were working on a green screen. So.
Maybe they were. Maybe that's the plan down the road.
Maybe.
So we cut back to Impact here for the Six Sides of Steel match. The global title is on the line as champion. Eli Drake defends against Alberto El Patron and Johnny Impact. Pin submission or escape are the ways to win. Eli Drake manages to come out on this once again with some help from his good buddy, Chris Adonis. This was good. I enjoyed this. I thought the work was solid the whole way through. Impact is just wonderful in this, if you ask me. I thought Eli Drake and Patron more than did their parts to make sure everything this got done right. And Drake getting sort of the stronger win here, I appreciated.
Yeah, I think it's something that he definitely needs. It just seems like people are just not into Eli Drake when it comes to just his wrestling ability, just pure by itself. And so, I mean, I think overall in this one, he comes off looking very well. He does what he does. He's very, heelish, uses Adonis a lot.
Right.
This is pretty much your normal cage match. I do like some of the big spots. Of course, Impact jumping off the top and landing with it. That was really fun. There's some other moments in this match. I even love the Adonis slamming the door in Patron's face.
Yeah.
So there are those spots that you like. But I think it was nice. It was kind of that picturesque moment. You heard Josh Matthews say that, where you have Eli Drake jumping over the top of the cage to land, and at the same time Adonis catches Impact. Yeah. I love that finish. I thought it was great. To be honest with you, I think they did a great job ending on a main event that actually felt good. So good job on them.
I agree, and of course with Drake winning here, that means Patron and Impact cannot challenge him anymore so long as he is champion. So we're guaranteed some fresh opposition for Mr. Drake down the road, which is good news, right? I mean, this has been going on for a while.
Yeah, and whoever his next opponent is, I'm sure they're a little bit banana. So just going to throw that out there. Just in case you haven't read the spoilers, folks, go look up Bananas Wrestling. You'll know.
Oh, you're great. That does it for Impact.
There you go, guys. Well, hey, we only got one last thing left to do for you folks, and that is crown a Superstar of the Week. We've got 2 weeks worth, so we'll give you a double shot of it next.
Superstar of the Week.
Let's hand out some trophies, Gary.
All right, so let's start with last week first. Why don't we do it, Paul? We are going to start this thing off by giving 1 point to Seth Rollins that week.
Yes, this is for the week of the 12th through the 18th. Last week, Rollins had that great main event against Finn Balor with the sort of surprising return of the curb stomp, better known as the blackout now. This was cool. I enjoyed that match a lot, and Seth getting that moment, and Finn selling it the way he did too really helped send that home.
Yeah, it's just so nice to see the curb stomp back. That was almost why I gave him the point. At least for my voting part of that, that's part of the reason I voted for him on one. So, 2 points going to Braun Strowman.
Braun was the whole reason to watch Raw last week. He a rampage across security guards and jobbers and randomly eating chocolate cake and very carefully scaring people in the production truck. So. Hats off to Braun. 2 points for that.
Yeah, for sure. That was a lot of greatness. 3 points to Ishimori.
Yeah, Ishimori defends the X Division title against Desmond Xavier last week on Impact. Great match, as we were sort of expecting it to be. Lots of flippies. Ishimori comes out your winner and obviously is still your champion.
4 points headed over to Bobby Roode.
The Glorious One wins the U.S. title tournament as they finished it up on last week's episode of SmackDown. Beats Jinder Mahal in the final. Big shock there. But I think it might be more shocking that the match might have been one of Jinder's better efforts. So, hats off to both of those guys.
I totally agree on that, for sure. 5 points, and the guy that was crowned superstar for last week, Jay Lethal.
Last week on our Monday episode, me and Gary absolutely gushed over Lethal and Ospreay's effort on Ring of Honor TV. Hands down, I think probably the best match we watched last week. Lethal gets the 5 points. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch it, guys. Fight TV, it's right there waiting for you.
All right, well, there you go. Jay Lethal, congratulations for last week's victory as our Superstar of the Week. We are going to hop out of our DeLorean now. We're going to come to this week, and we're going to do Superstar for this week, which will start out by giving a point to Matt Sydal.
Yeah, Matt Sydal captures the Grand Championship against EC3 on the Genesis episode of Impact. Good work, solid match, well-told story. I think that's what really helped keep your interest going. And now in retrospect really makes that match feel different. So hats off to those guys.
Yeah, for sure. 2 points are going to be given to The Miz.
You know, maybe the only real noteworthy thing to come out of current stuff running with WWE on Raw 25 was The Miz winning that Intercontinental title for Roman Reigns. The match may not have been, great or even good by some standards, but Miz with the IC title just feels right, and that's worth 2 points, Gary.
Yeah, for sure. 3 points given to Eli Drake.
Yeah, the Mr. Dummy Man himself ends up coming away with the championship, beats Impact and Patron in the cage in the main event on Genesis. It's a really great match. Maybe Eli Drake's best effort, I would say. I think they used the cage well. Everything was just really working in that match, and Drake came out on top.
Yep, there you go. So, at least he gets some props from some people, and that's us. So, I know, right? 4 points got to be given over to Cedric Alexander.
I mean, if you guys didn't watch 205 Live this week, go back, watch that main event. Cedric Ali and Mustafa Ali put on a clinic. Absolutely barn burner style match is so much fun. Cedric once again comes out on top. It's really looking like that Cruiserweight title might end up going his way once they figure out how they're going to crown a champion.
Oh, yeah. That guy is just continually getting better and better. I'm so excited for him. 5 points, and the person we're crowning for the Superstar of the Week for this week is, well, 2 of them, the Young Bucks.
Yeah. I mean, once again, if you listen to our Monday episode, we absolutely gushed about this. This is the main event of Ring of Honor TV. The Young Bucks taking on Dragon Lee and Titan and the Best Friends in what you would expect, right? It's a Flippy Boy special, but it's so much fun. The Young Bucks win, and, it's once again, maybe the best match we saw on TV this week. So hats off to those guys. They absolutely earned it.
Yep, they are money. That's what I say every time. They are fistfuls of dollars and whatever you want to say beyond that. So
tons of money.
Oh yeah. All right, guys. Well, that is our Superstar of the Week. We've had so much fun on this episode of Wrestling to the Max. We've had a blast. We're about to get Sean back here, and we are so excited to tell you this coming Sunday we plan on doing 2 review shows. That's right, the NXT TakeOver Philadelphia review show and then the Royal Rumble review show. We'll be doing both. We'll be getting excited because we'll be talking about all that entailed in both, giving you our thoughts, our ideas, and maybe some of the thoughts on the future for both of those shows. And of course, also don't forget, hey, the way you go find those things is to go join us on the W2Mnet.com. Once you go to W2Mnet.com, you'll have the opportunity to come and find not only our show, but all the other great wrestling shows that you want to find, and of course, some other great content in the worlds of entertainment, sports, and video games. Trust me, lots of great stuff on W2Mnet.com. And hey, when you go subscribe, rate, and review, where do you go? That's right, Wrestling to the Max or the W2M Network. Whatever one you choose, go do it now. Because if you're not doing that, that means you are missing out on some of the best content that you could ever find. So please, go do that now. And also, hey, make sure you give some big love to our friends over at 411mania.com and lastwordonprowrestling.com. Both are great sites. They have lots of great content, so go check them out. They support us. Let's go support them. And that wraps us up for tonight, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for also being patient. We came out a little later in the day than we usually like to, but hey, well, at least we came out and we are here to give you guys all that you can handle. I, of course, am Gary Vaughan. He is Paul Leazar, and he is Sean Garmer. And until next time, if you are not living life to the max,
not living life at all,
you know it.
There, guys.
What a real shame you can't play I'm Coming Out right now.
I know, right?
Wow.
Copyrights.
Later, guys.
The previous podcast is a W2Mnet.com original podcast. For more great content like this, go to W2Mnet.com for the worlds of wrestling, video games, entertainment, and sports.